Welcome to the Wealthy Artist Podcast. And I'm your host, Sarah Clanton.
And I'm Wilson Harwood, and we're talking about how to develop your wealth,
enjoy financial freedom,
enjoy artistic freedom,
and live the life you've always imagined. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome, Wealthy Artists.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Oh, man. Well, before we dive in.
We're so good, Wilson.
We're so good. We're subscribing and we're listening every Monday. Oh, we love you.
Yeah. People are like, wow, you guys are really schizophrenic now. All right.
Oh, man. You know, one time when I had purple hair, which I did have for 2 years, somebody came up to me at a bar and would not stop calling me schizophrenic for having purple hair. It was the weirdest thing.
That is really strange.
There's some strange projections. In the world's a weird place.
That is really crazy. Yeah, it is.
It's like, this is not something we should be joking about.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Anyway, I digress.
It's true.
I wanted to, actually, before I hopped on here with you, Wilson, I lit a candle and I pulled a couple of cards and I wanted for the Wealthy Artists today.
Cool.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing right now the cards I pulled. I pulled one from my mermaid and dolphin oracle card, and I pulled one from my Beyond Lumeria oracle card deck. So basically I just was like, all right, what messages do I need to deliver today? And so I really love doing this because it's a chance to just listen to intuition and your inner voice, and when you hear this message, what comes up for you. And it's not the same for everyone, but this is cool. So this card, this first one from Beyond Lumeria, it's pretty neat. I think it's cool for today. It says communication co-creation. And we're co-creating
cool
right
card.
now.
Yeah, we totally are.
I mean, everything is, right? We're all co-creating. So we normally think of information as something that can be written or spoken, but if something is multidimensional, it is almost impossible to share it with words. How are you communicating beyond words? I can't use words, apparently. Something may be getting lost in translation. An issue may be cleared through improved communication. Listen carefully to what someone has to say without interruption. Furthermore, it may feel scary to share vulnerable truths, but this may be the only way forward. Ooh.
Whoa.
This card also encourages great exploration in the realms of telepathy, healing, and the arts such as poetry, painting, and music, where there is collective communication beyond the mind. So if you're watching on YouTube, which you can go and look at, you go subscribe to The Wealthy Artist on YouTube. You can see the card here. There's
it's a pretty cool looking card.
People or aliens around this tiny little earth in the middle. It's a tiny little earth.
Mm-hmm.
And swirling cool energy. But that's interesting. This second one, y'all.
I love it.
This one really feels right for today.
What do we got here?
This one feels really right. And the mermaid cards I love both of these decks, but this one was it just feels really right. This one is empowerment. I like it because it's a mermaid with wings.
Whoa.
I know, right? Empowerment.
It's a
this is a really cool message because I think this is going to be really poignant for what we're going to talk about today. Wealthy artists, get ready. Empowerment. You're more powerful than you realize. It's safe for you to be powerful. Again, you can see the card on YouTube. And this one comes with a little message in this fun little fancy book here. So empowerment. You're more powerful than you realize. It's safe for you to be powerful. This card confirms that your inner power wants to surface. You'll use this power appropriately, and you are incapable of abusing it. Your true friends and the people who really love you will be happy that you've taken your power back. Empowerment means that you're no longer willing to see yourself as a victim in any way. It means letting go of all blame with respect to other people, past conditions, or present circumstances. Know that you can be powerful and gentle simultaneously and still be very effective. Affirm frequently. It is safe for me to be powerful. I accept my God or goddess given power to be used in the service of light and love. Then enjoy the shifts you see around you. Instead of worrying what others think about you, use your power to make the world a better place. You may never feel self-conscious again. I love that.
Wonderful. I love that too. Yeah. And that does lead us into today's topic very well.
It really does.
Yes.
Which is
talking about setting huge goals, feeling into your power, and not worrying about how to get there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, which is like, what? But we talked about that, really, we've talked about that, I think, several times, but in our episode about Amanda Francis's book, Rich as Fuck, she talks about that a lot as the how is not your responsibility. But I think before we get worried about the how. I get worried about the how all the time. Like, okay, well, and sometimes we don't dream big enough. I think a lot of us don't dream big enough, and maybe the how gets in the way of dreaming big enough. So with goal setting, I think for me, I think there's different kinds of places you can start. There's like, near goals and there's far away goals. But as far as even just setting those little ones and knowing where to get started, like really creating your life design, write it out. What does it look like and feel like to be living? Like, what if this was like the perfect day where you had everything you ever imagined, and maybe even dream bigger than that? Yeah. Just write it out. Do you ever do that?
Yeah. No, I've been doing this, for 2 or 3 years now, like writing out intentions. And some of you may know, I think we've talked about the Passion Planner before, but I'm a huge Passion Planner fan. And it's so funny. Everyone who comes in the studio sees my Passion Planner laying down on the ground because it's kind of cool looking. And it's a really fancy looking book. And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's my Passion Planner. And they're like, I need one of those. And so I think a few people have bought them after coming into the studio and seeing it. And that's also been a way, that whole planner is based around setting big goals, even lifetime goals, and kind of breaking them down into your smaller monthly goals, weekly goals, or just a season of trying to accomplish something. Yeah. So that's been really helpful for me too. But I think like the practice of it is huge, like doing it over years and seeing yourself getting better at thinking big. Thinking beyond your limitations, thinking beyond the, practical. I think like this idea of practicality is what kills all of us.
Oh my gosh.
Like, well, what's a practical goal? Like, I'm going to try and get like really pumped up by like imagining that I could play like, 20 shows next year at like $100 a show or something. You're like, this is very practical for me. And it's just like not exciting. Like,
but
you need to think
practical?
way bigger.
Yeah. Does it bring you the joy?
Yeah. And I think that it's really important to like just dream huge.
Yes.
And not have any limitations.
I mean, when the first person thought of the airplane, that wasn't realistic. I think we have to realize that what we are thinking about is not even like even the extent of the possibilities that are possible, and when I think that we have to keep in mind, especially with the how, because we can't know exactly how what we want is going to happen, how we don't know the exact like A, B, C, because like especially in the music industry and this music life, like it's not linear, right? This industry is not linear at all, and you never know. Just by you taking the action, you're stirring the cauldron of magical awesome juju that's in the world, that when you just take the action, create the song, release it, someone out there hears it, wants to have you for a house concert or book you for a show or open for this act. You just never know what it's going to be. But if you don't create from when you're inspired, no matter how ridiculous the idea is, you never know what can come from it. So
yeah. And I think like one thing I've been trying to practice a lot lately is even in the creation mode, having the expansive mindset that like, whoa, this song could like win me a Grammy. This song could, get placed on a huge commercial and make me $70,000. This song could land me a publishing deal. Like, I think every time you create, as long as it doesn't exhaust you, that mindset can be exhausting. But I think the important thing is the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And then everything you do has this intention, this energy behind it. And that is what propels you forward. That's where the how doesn't matter as much, because your like intention. You know
what your why is. Or even if you're like, man, I wrote this song because it really helped me through a dark time. Maybe it will help others through a dark time. It could be that, and you never know how big that could be. Even just having the willingness to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to receive. That's been something that's really big practice for me lately, because I think my thinking small or like my worry about the how has me blocking abundance sometimes, so I've got to, get in that space of just acting, like taking inspired action and trusting that like it's going to happen. Like, for example, I've been avoiding making reels for a really long time.
No.
And the like organic algorithm of it is so amazing right now on Instagram. Like it really is. And I actually like, you can't force this stuff. I mean, I really believe this with posts and things too. Like if you're not showing up excited to post and excited and like mean what you say, that will translate. And I finally was in the space of not like guilting myself, like Heather May talked about on the episode with her, you know, carving out, like letting yourself have a little bit of time during the week to do social media, as it is like a free advertising platform right now. So you can, you know, use it as work time, not guilt yourself. Like I was having trouble with like, oh, I'm on my phone, so I'm not working, but I am. Anyway, but the reels, like I got really excited about and I had fun doing it, but I couldn't have forced that a few weeks ago. I just had to, I had to get really clear on a few things, like do some inner work. And for me, it was kind of being reminded in a way of like, oh man, I do know my shit. I can help other people. I can help people register their songs. And I know that they will collect money if they do these things in my workshop, and just confidently speaking on what I know. And we all know what we know. We also don't know what we don't know, right? But anyway, that's another discussion. But we all like have our things that we're really good at. And just being confident in that, I think, also lets you let go of the how in a way.
Yeah.
Because you just know you can do it. It's hard to practice, though, for sure.
It is super hard to practice. And that's interesting how you said you just didn't feel like doing it, so you didn't do it. But when you felt the energy and like the positive, like, oh, yeah, this is going to be fun, it all kind of just works out that way anyways.
Yeah. And I didn't wait around for that feeling to come. I should be clear on that. And like sometimes you have to push through. Like I wrote it on my list. Like, okay, I'm just going to look and give myself 25 minutes and just like see if I can figure it out. Like just play around with it. Because like, you know, I think sometimes there's a line for me where like, oh, it doesn't feel good to do this right now, so I just don't want to do it. But there's also a process, kind of a working to get to feeling good. You know, getting clear about why you're doing something. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think that's
Well,
what about
goal setting?
What are like some of your goals right now that you've been working on? And how have you approached them? And how are you like kind of growing that mindset to think even bigger?
I love this question. Great question, Milton.
Oh, yeah, you know.
Well, you know, always, like, I think, and, you know, we talk about tons of books on the podcast. I think, you know, making sure that what I'm putting into my brain is really helping me keep that mindset. And I've talked about this a little bit, but I think it totally is worth repeating. Existential Kink, this book I'm reading, really made, like, some significant shifts within my own thought process. But she said in that book to like choose one thing to get really good at for 3 months and stay focused on that. So like right now I want to get really good at making money selling my workshop and whatever that means. And like I've had to get into this energy about it because I've had some imposter monster like rawr. But you know, you just keep working on it. But so with goal setting, I try to do like, all right, what's a maybe 6-month goal or 3-month goal, like with this like one thing you want to get really good at. And part of that with what I want to get good at has just been like asking. I know I've mentioned that before, just like, you know, going for it, just asking, don't be shy, just who cares about the rejection, not taking the rejection so personally. I know that sounds silly, but it's also, oh my gosh, like not hearing no can be so disheartening, but you have to just sometimes be like, nope, okay, that's not for me. It's a no because it's not for me, not because I'm terrible and something's wrong with me. That can be something for musicians, I know, especially when we're wearing so many hats and booking and all this stuff. But so I've got some like more immediate goals, and then I've got like the life design, maybe 5 years out, maybe a couple years out. But and again, not putting I think like part of the how we got to not get caught up in is putting a timestamp on it. Because we could be like, in 5 years, I want to own this home in Colorado. Well, what if something happens in a year that you could go buy this home in Colorado? Then, you know, you don't want to block that. So, but just like really getting into the feeling of not only like what would it be like to wake up in my dream home in Colorado, but like what would it feel like to be like making the X amount of money that I want to make? What would it feel like to be booked full time or whatever, this or that, whatever your goals are, you know, what would that feel like to have already accomplished it? I think there's a lot about energetic vibration that helps you get to your goal. Maybe sooner than later. Maybe it takes longer than you think. But
yeah, I'm totally in an interesting space right now with kind of getting blindsided by a bunch of work, which was awesome. Yeah, an interesting way, and I'm kind of like, whoa, how did that happen? And it's been great, really wonderful.
Because you've been reading books like Rich as Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably why. Yeah, no, I've been doing the inner work for sure, and I've also been reading Existential Kink, like you said, and I found really, I do like it, but I also set it aside for a little bit because I wasn't sure it was the right book for me right this second. Which is interesting. And I think a lot of you guys, as we talk about these books, like some of them will speak to you, some of them may not, and that's totally okay. It's kind of like part of this whole process. And my partner always says, like, I hate it when you read these books because everything you read suddenly becomes like the truth. And I'm like, oh, I'm just like excited about it. But she has a good point too, which is like, take them all with a grain of salt, like take them all, as they are. Don't try to like take in all that information at once and try to accomplish everything they're trying to tell you.
Or just even like, know what resonates with you. Right. And also you don't want to just get, pushed by the wind, right? Like reading it and then being the observer of it, and be like, okay, how does this apply to me and my goals and what feels true to me, and really keeping that like mental autonomy, or psychic autonomy. But because everything you read does influence you, everything you see, everything we listen to, it all infiltrates. And sometimes like books just take a while to process too.
They certainly do. And whenever you read them in your lifetime, you'll get a different flavor of what they're teaching you because you're going to have different experiences behind you. And kind of what I was saying with this weird chapter I'm in right now, all of a sudden is like, I kind of have accomplished some of my goals.
Right.
And now I'm experiencing this weird, like, whoa, what do you do once you've gotten to that space?
Dream bigger.
And you got to dream bigger, right? And then you also like, I'm also very busy in a way. So I'm like, oh wow, I have all this work to do. So I have to manage my time in a certain way. So there's all these new sort of responsibilities and things you have to work through as you kind of level up throughout your goal setting. And I think that's really fascinating. But like, for example, like I've been trying to do that course as well, build this course, and the course was going to like really help me, but I just don't have time to work on the course anymore. Yeah. So I have to literally shelf it, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah. I'm going to shelve it for a season, like until things either slow down, and if they never slow down, then like, that's great.
Or hire someone to help you with it so it can be automated.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have no idea what I'm going to do with that at this point. So I just sort of let it be.
Yeah,
but
it's
sometimes
there.
Our goals,
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere per se, but I think like our goals sometimes change, and if we put something out into the world, maybe I've been putting out like I want to grow my studio, and then suddenly it grows, and then this whole I wanted to build a course, like, well, you can't do both at the same time. There's just
maybe the course was like something you're doing because you were like, okay, I thought that this other stuff was going to happen sooner, and I'm totally just like projecting and throwing out an idea. But but you brought up such an important point. Like goals can and will change, and like holding on to things so much is the way that the pandemic is a great example. Like all of us had plans changed. Like, and that can feel really shitty, like, especially when you put the energy into all these plans, right? But what do we all do? We shifted. And so I think the same thing goes with goals, because, you might grow in a way you never expected, so expansively, and you got to keep room for, what good and abundance you don't know could come yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of this cool mixture of being very open and fluid and flexible.
Yes.
But also setting like a lot of really straight lined intentional goals and focuses.
Something you can keep the focus on, whether it's like, makes you have to go like all these different zigzag ways, but you still like, what that focus is.
Yeah. And what's interesting, you kept on mentioning this like lifestyle design. And I think it's such a cool term because for us artists,
I think it might be a term I picked up from somewhere that someone's already doing. But
yeah, totally. I mean, it makes sense, like lifestyle design, but it's really, I think, to the essence of what this podcast is about and what we're always trying to like understand ourselves and also teach is this idea of like your personal life is really what you are here to create. You don't have to like create this fabricated life you think you should live. Right. And I think in the artist world, that this fabricated life you think you should live is actually what a lot of artists I see, especially early on in their career, are kind of leaning into. And so I always get excited when I see someone who's like, I want to like live this specific lifestyle. So starting to think about like, how are your weeks? How many vacation days do you get? How often do you work? And I think Sarah and I both are probably on the train of like, we want to work less.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like do
I want to
less
live my
and
life.
Accomplish more.
I want to help other people. I want to live my life and go outside.
Yeah,
and we really
me too.
can do what we want with this life. I mean, that is what we can't forget. And, you know, I posted on my Instagram yesterday a reel about my song registration workshop. And really the topic of the post was about quitting making excuses, whatever it is, you know, for the registration workshop, for example, like, I've talked to people who are like, well, I haven't released enough music yet to register my songs, or like Spotify doesn't play enough. And it's like, you can come up with literally any excuse to not do something.
Totally.
And looking at that excuse, like, is this going to help me get to my goal? Is this excuse, is this resistance something that is actually not good for me? I talk about this a lot. Or is this something I need to grow through and like push through the icky feeling to take the action? And sometimes that's hard to figure out because it's really easy. And it talks about this in the Existential Kink book, along with a lot of other books I've read recently, just how like when you are like new level, new devil, as Maston Kipp says. Mm-hmm. And when we do level up, our body's like, okay, this is not comfortable. We're like, even if being broke is not where you want to be, your like body has kept yourself there somehow because that's been comfortable. You know what it's like to be broke or whatnot. So like being wealthy there might be some fear around that for some reason, you know?
Yeah.
But just moving through that.
Oh man, we have to do a whole episode on the Existential Kink because I've read enough of it to get
I listened to it. I'm really glad. I like listened to it and stretched in the morning.
I've been listening to it as well. I signed up for
Audible, and so I'm listening to like one book a month and then reading my other ones. But.
Yeah. No, it's a great way to do a mixture of reading and Audible is awesome.
I used to love being read to. I remember.
Who doesn't?
Like, it was nice.
You read to me and just rub my arm and my belly. Mama.
I know, right? Well, I've thought about like reading some books out loud.
Yeah,
just to have them like out there. I think it'd be fun, but I'd have to go slow and not stumble so much over my reading words.
Yeah, right. But anyways, I think like what's cool about this Existential Kink book is if you're interested in it, it's kind of this. It's actually, I think it's a challenging book. There's a lot of like really heady concepts that she goes into, and going into your subconscious But the idea she talks about Carl Jung all the time. Carl Jung, it's really awesome. And like this idea of not wanting the success you think you want, subconsciously you're fighting against it because you like being poor, you like the idea, the image, the identity that you hold of being like the struggling musician. I think we all can relate to that. Like, well, the starving artist is like a story everyone knows. Yeah, and it's really powerful. Even if you think you're beyond it, I think there's aspects I know of myself. Like one thing I was saying is like when you achieve some of your goals, like let's say you hit a financial goal that you've always had, and you hit it. I personally was feeling this weird pushback, like things are too good right now. Right? What? Like how do I handle when things are like kind of perfect? Not used to feeling maybe that stability. Yeah, the stability and the like. I have nothing to complain about. I'm not allowed to complain anymore because like if I did, it would be ridiculous. And it's a beautiful thing when it happens, but I think it's like we should all really feel into when we say subtle things that are like our outlet of like complaining, and the whole thing that she says in Existential Kink is like you actually get turned on, literally turned on by some of these weird like bad things that we do, like things that are bad in the sense that they're negative in our lifestyle. Yep. Some part of us has created, I mean, we create the reality we're in. Likes that. Yeah. Yeah. Some part of us likes it. That was really like, it took some sinking in, like, because I've had that thought before. Like, there has to be some reason, like, when I've been not that I'm trying to take responsibility or fault for things like crazy shit that's happened to me that other people have definitely, like,
the Ponzi scheme that happened when I got dropped from my label, like I didn't have anything to do with that Ponzi scheme, but I was really hurt and mad and angry. And I just think that, but part of me wondered if like, did I bring some kind of drama into my life? Like just
that's the
not
hard
even
stuff, right?
You know, like did I need some like fucked up story to be like an artist because that's what you see on VH1 Driven? I had those crazy thoughts, and so when I read this book I was like, oh my god, like whoa, maybe
we do bring this stuff onto us.
I mean, I don't know. I used to pretend radio show when I was a kid. I'm podcasting right now. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting, but also it's scary, but it's also a chance to be like, whoa, well shit, if I created this, well, what cool things can I create?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then changing that feeling of being like calm around success. Just, it's a new practice, you know?
Yeah. And I would be, one thing I'm thinking of too, which is weird, like, is going back to the goal setting of like really intentionally thinking big and knowing what you want in the moment. So, and I say in the moment because I think what we want is always in flux. It's always changing, but be careful what you wish for is kind of what I'm saying here, because here I am, I have like a full schedule in my studio and I'm like, I don't have much time to do anything else.
Or be specific about what you wish for, because you want to be busy, but do you want all your hours to be full?
Yeah. Be careful. And then like sometimes
I wanted to be signed, but I didn't want a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, I think there's this weird subtlety to it that we can all get better at as we practice our goal setting, of like really having this underlying intention of what we want that's really healthy and for our best self. Not like, oh, I just want to be super rich. Not like, oh, I just want my schedule full.
Right.
No, not I just want a full tour schedule. But like, I want,
what does tour look like?
What does tour look like? And are you like, is it relaxed? Is it easy? Is it fun? Is it like just fluid and not a lot of stress? It can be all those things if you allow it to.
Oh my God.
It can also be drama to the max if you secretly want it to be deep down.
And like shit happens, like, flat tires and,
shit happens.
Like things don't turn out the way that you wanted them to, but there's also a lesson in that too. Like, oh man, holding on to expectations, it can be just, ooh. But yeah, it's a wild ride.
Isn't it weird?
But we're creating it. We are communication co-creating. Just the title of this card I pulled at the beginning here, but yeah, I mean, I would love to know, we have an email at we have thewealthyartistpodcast at gmail.com. We would love to know about what you guys do for your goal setting. What are some of your huge, expansive goals? If you want to like practice writing them out and have someone to send them to, like send them to us. We will be your listeners and your cheerleaders. We're here for you. And just dream big. Like fuck what anybody else has to say about how many dogs or cats you want to have wherever it is you want to live. Like go open that smoothie stand in the tropics. Who cares? Do what you want with your life. You only have one.
Love it.
And we're here to support, your creative, awesome life. We are on YouTube. We are on Patreon. We're wherever you can listen to podcasts, and we're glad that you're here. So thanks for writing a review and giving us 5 stars. And check out Wilson, his studio that he's so busy with. It's kick-ass. You can follow him at Elevated Music Studio on Instagram, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm at Sarah Cello. And we love you guys.
Love you guys, and thanks so much for listening. And we'll see you next week.